So, what if you take an IP with tremendous potential like Superman and put it into the hands of one of the most successful creative minds in the history of live action superhero movies?
That idea may just be crazy enough to get us all killed!
Well, it turns out you get arguably one of the best superhero movies to ever grace the big screen. Sorry to the Zack Snyder fanboys, but this one is going to be a tough pill to swallow. Despite its high expectations, James Gunn's Superman soars above and beyond them to deliver a movie that's jam packed with stimulating characters, stunning visuals, exciting action sequences, and an overall great balance of comedy and emotion. It showcases the full potential of not only Superman himself, but an exciting cast of supporting characters who shine bright on the big screen while strictly adhering to comic accurate depictions in terms of their personalities, visual aesthetic, and performances. The chemistry between the various characters, both superpowered and non superpowered, results in highly entertaining interactions. Even the lesser characters are concisely established and well developed, which allows for them to each personally contribute to the overall story without it feeling overstuffed. From start to finish, the movie is objectively hilarious and packed with both campy and sophisticated humor that never comes off as cheap in its delivery. And despite its comedic undertone, the humor is dialed back at the perfect times to allow for its emotional sequences to remain highly impactful. To strike a perfect balance between humor and emotion is a significant accomplishment, but as we've seen from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, it's clearly one of James Gunn's biggest strengths as a writer and director. Visually, the movie is absolutely incredible. It's bright and colorful. In fact, the colors were almost popping right off of the screen. The lighting was great, much more traditional than the more realistic style of lighting we often see in modern movies, in terms of how it was utilized to provide dramatic emphasis in many different scenes. Overall, the cinematography was remarkable, with loads of breathtaking and highly memorable shots. I personally loved the editing as well, as there were a lot of great transitions, and the action sequences were very visually stimulating while still being quite easy to follow. Coming in at a runtime of about 2 hours and 10 minutes, I personally felt that the film was very well paced. Some might argue that the first act was a little bit rushed, but I felt that it worked very well in terms of how it concisely established both the characters and the plot, and served as more of an appetizer while letting the second and third acts provide the main course for the film. There was probably a good chunk of material from the first act left on the editing room floor, but a runtime closer to 2 hours is much more palatable for the average viewer than a runtime of 2.5 to 3 hours, and ultimately the story didn't suffer in the slightest. I think my personal favorite aspect of the film, though, had to be the themes. They were relatively simple, but also highly relatable. Stuff that we can all connect with, like struggling to understand yourself and your purpose in the world, the moral complexity of wanting to be an inherently good person in a world that seems to create societal barriers to that and almost normalizes wrongdoings on a daily basis. The theme of nature versus nurture and family, whether it's the family you were born into or the family you choose to be a part of. Ultimately, it's a movie that leaves you wanting to be a better person upon leaving the theater. It's an inspiring and emotional story, and simply an overall great experience. Personally, I don't often find myself saying this, but I have this movie at a 10 out of 10, as subjectively I did not see any flaws in it upon my initial viewing, either story-wise or technically. And even if I had, there are simply so many positive aspects that I can't imagine any negative coming even close to outweighing them. The performances were great, the characters were awesome in their comic accurate depictions, the visuals were stunning and impressive, and the overall themes were relatable and well presented. For those of you who have seen the movie, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree entirely. Regardless though, I very much appreciate you watching, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe for more.